In this tutorial we'll take a look at how you can set up stock tracking for products. So first of all, if we go into Setup and then click into Products and Services. Now there's a separate video tutorial that covers all of the settings in here under Setup for products. But just to give a quick overview of the stock tracking section. In here we can specify first of all, and these are used also for defaults when creating new records in a products module, we can say to automatically set an item to be tracked in stock. And also in addition to that, we can specify that we track items individually by serial number. So this means that if a product is tracked by serial number, let me just turn that off. If an item is tracked by serial number in the products module, any time that you increase or decrease stock for that item, like on a purchase order when you receive that item, or when you sell that item and it's shipped out, or you use specific items for the assembly of products, well, you're prompted on those occasions then to specify the serial numbers that you're either using when it's reducing stock or that you're adding into the system if you're increasing stock. So if we did actually turn on this default here, remember these are the defaults for adding new products to stock. We can also specify that we normally generate serial numbers either automatically or manually. So manually would be for more like equipment that you might purchase from suppliers, where you're then inserting their serial number from the products into the system. Automatically is more relevant to where you might be manufacturing or assembling finished products and you want to then have the system auto-generate serial numbers in the system automatically. So we click on automatically to give you an idea, and let's say the serial length we'll set to 10. So that gives an example here of a serial number. So the serial number will increment automatically as you increase that item into stock, usually on job assemblies. We can also then specify that we track batches. So batches are something that you can generate when you're increasing stock of serialized products. So let's say you're creating products in a job assembly. At the time of adding those items into stock, you can then create a batch to apply to those quantities. Let's say a quantity of 100 of something you're creating. You can then assign that 100 to a batch, and in the batch module you can then track those items to show you what's been used up and what balance is remaining from that batch. Also there's an option here to track multiple locations. Now tracking batches and multiple locations are something that are covered in other video tutorials in a lot more detail. But if you've got multiple locations in your business, or like for example multiple stores, multiple warehouses, you can set those up in the system. And here we're specifying that yes, we do track stock at multiple locations, and the same with batches. So that means it'll turn on the module appearing in the modules menu, which appears at the top of every window in the system on the data entry and list screens. There's also an option here to use calculations updating the stock quantities. Now that's just for where you can, when you do something in the system that updates stock, like increasing products on a PO when you receive them, or decreasing products when you sell them, then when the system updates the quantity in stock for those items, it can do so either using calculations which look at actual existing data in the system, or it can just set the field based on what it currently is, its current quantity plus or minus the figure from that particular stock movement. So that gives you a quick overview of the settings relating to the tracking of stock in Setup. So let's go back and let's go into the products module. Now there's a lot more functionality explained in the video tutorial for the products module, as well as other tutorials for tracking stock and explaining how stock is tracked. So this is just about setting up a product for tracking in stock. So let's create a new product here. And because we've specified in setup that every time we create a new product, to default it that it does track quantity in stock, but also that it's tracked using serial numbers or tracked individually. And it also then pulled in the default values from setup to track automatically, where we can set the next serial number to be a certain number, and it will show us then what the next serial number is going to be. So as you create new products in here, you can turn them off that they're not tracked in stock, or you can turn them off that they're not tracked by serial numbers as well. So the setup area is just the default for creating new records. So you can turn that off here, or you can actually totally turn off tracking of stock for an item altogether. If you want to set up opening balances for an item that is tracked in stock, well, by actually turning this back on, it's going to check the data in the system to see if there are any stock movement history, and it'll generate the locations automatically for stock locations on the stock tab. So we'll click OK. And now that we've got stock tracking turned on for this item, which doesn't actually have any history, but if, for example, we wanted to put in an opening balance for this item into stock, then we can create a line here, and because we've got multiple locations in this particular system, we can specify, for example, the main stock location, and we can say that there's a quantity there of 10, and it puts that into stock at that location. Now if this item was tracked by serial number, we would have been prompted to specify the 10 serial numbers for those items, where if we wanted, we could use a barcode scanner to scan in the items, generating the serial numbers automatically. So that really covers the setting up of tracking in stock, or the stock quantities for a product in the products module.